Welcome, everyone. My name is Chris Gandolfo, and I'm so excited to be hosting today's Customer Spotlight featuring one of our amazing customers, Navigo. So Navigo empowers companies across all industries to be more data-driven and even accomplish complete digital transformations. The company's cloud-native integration platform helps customers detect and eliminate data inaccuracies and convert all viable data into usable information. So we're so excited today to bring you their story. So before we bring in our guests, let's take a quick poll, see if we can make this interactive. So in 2020, many companies have reprioritized and accelerated digital transformation plans as immediate necessity for the business survival during this pandemic we're all going through. So which of these 2020 trends are most likely to endure long term? So is it an increased sense of IT spending and budgets to automate things, do more with less? Is it the adoption of cloud-based solutions? Or is it the contactless digital customer service or the remote workforce? I'm really interested in your feedback. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to kind of accumulate some answers here, and then we'll take a look at your feedback. Wow, okay. That's pretty split right down the middle. That's really amazing. So it was the increased adoption of cloud-based solutions and the remote workforce. I think the remote workforce is kind of a layup. I think we're all coming to our senses and how to adapt through this pandemic. And I think there's a semblance of this that'll be with us for a very long time. So fantastic. Thank you for that feedback. Now let's get right into it. I'm excited to welcome our special guest, Katie Horvath. Katie is the CEO of Navigo, and she's got a great background. She actually holds a JD from the University of Notre Dame and an engineering degree from the University of Michigan. So kind of a legal and technical background, which is pretty unique. So her experience is vast. She has a lot of experience in Silicon Valley. She's worked for companies like Microsoft and many, many blue chip companies in Silicon Valley. She's actually been recognized by the United States Congress for a leadership award for innovative business models and is believed to be the only female CEO in big data in North America. So with that, Katie, welcome, and thank you for joining us today in this episode of the Customer Spotlight.
Oh, Chris, thank you very much for having me. I'm really pleased to be here and looking forward to talking more about Navigo and Oracle, both.
Well, that sounds great. Let's jump right into it. So why don't you, in your own words, give us a brief overview of what Navigo does?
Sure. So Navigo, we are a software company, and our entire business is designed around building pipelines of data. Basically, we want to make sure that we're solving problems of data fragmentation that exist across a company, having multiple different business units, each with their own preferred data source. And we want to make sure that basically at the end of the day, a company is operating off of the same set of facts throughout all the different business units, and that data is ready to go for analytics. It's ready to go for making better decisions. The diagram I have up here is a screenshot from our very easy to use self-service portal showing different data sources. On the left, we can connect to about anything and everything, combining on-premises sources along with multiple different cloud sources. And then from there, we are using our Navigo magic to not only integrate, but we are wrangling, automating all of the data wrangling for getting rid of duplicates, errors, and making sure the data is ready to go in what we call a golden record. And once that golden record is prepared, two things. First, we enable bidirectional sync. So the corrections to the data can be put back in place in all of the data sources so that the business where it sits is all operating off of the same set of accurate facts in the company. And importantly, also, we replicate forward. So we can load Oracle Autonomous Data Warehouse and have that data ready to go in a stream of accurate information in real time, ready for Oracle Analytics as well. If we can see the next slide, really what we often see are if a business analyst is tasked with answering a particular company question, depending on who they ask or which department they go to, they're going to get probably a different answer because there are all of these different data sources with how we do business these days. No longer do we have the one big data repository, but rather it's best of breed applications that have been adopted. And so this is a picture showing basically Navigo, we sit in the middle. We do not want to be a data repository. And it's important to us that we manage our customers' data wherever it lives and wherever it sits, and then deliver it to our customers wherever they would like it to go. So after our clean data is ready, you can see in this picture, the entire company has the same set of facts to be able to analyze, and ultimately that leads to better decision making.
No, it's great. Thank you for that overview. It's actually, it's extremely relevant. I think making sense of large disparate data sources is extremely relevant right now. And it's a topic that we run into all of the time with our customers. So tell me a little bit more about why you joined Navigo and when you joined.
Sure. Well, I am not the founder. I will back up for just a minute to give a little note on that. Our founder, Derek Smith, is the CTO of the company, and he lived and breathed the problems of these data integration projects as a services provider. And he saw projects that would take 12 months, 18 months with no results. They were very expensive. Most of the customers had to hire highly skilled FTEs just to be able to use technologies and maintain them. And often they never even got off the ground because people would try to sit around a table and agree on what the data should look like and never could. So he went on his own and decided to build a cloud native data management system. And by doing so, this was back in 2012 when the product was being incubated, really he was kind of ahead of his time of a lot of the cloud adoption we're seeing today. But the whole idea was, let's just automate it. Let's make it easy to use for non-technical users so that the business, the data stewards can participate in their data management. And so when I came and joined the company, at that point in time, Navigo was operating exclusively in the oil and gas vertical, basically sitting at the center of oil well production data and telling different systems when to turn on and turn off over the life cycle of oil. And it was a great vertical and great business that Derek had built. But I came on and my whole goal was, let's diversify, let's scale, let's build this up. And so, realizing that really data is a problem in any industry, it's a very horizontal problem. In that sense, wanted to hit other high value verticals where there are a lot of data challenges. So healthcare, financial services, insurance, manufacturing and logistics are places that we've gone. And the other piece to it too was Derek initially founded the platform starting with master data management and data quality. Those are older terms now. We expanded that out to be data accuracy and also being a full data integration platform, because when you have a problem, the first thing you try to do is go and bring the data together, and then you need to clean it up.
It's great, because you look, most innovations are born out of necessity, and Derek, having lived it, just decided to set out to kind of solve the problem with his own innovations. It's really quite an impressive story. And I think some of the things you mentioned resonated with me, especially the data pipeline problem, right? It's really important right now for most of our customers. And it's especially important in the front end of the process, because I think most business users would know how to make a good business decision if they had clean data and it was organized and they could draw the insights out and they could optimize very easily. So on the front end, when you're trying to transform and organize messy data, you have to it's a critical dependency to even begin to think about getting insights out of their data. So it's an extremely relevant space, and we're very excited to be partnered with Navigo to help tackle this problem. But I want to shift a little bit to OCI for a second, and Oracle Cloud, right? So Oracle certainly wasn't the first cloud to market, right? But on the flip side of that is we do have the benefit of the architectural advantages of a Gen 2 cloud. And many customers have been moving workloads to OCI purely for the performance gains and the economic advantages versus the other cloud alternatives. So we know you didn't pick Oracle Cloud on some whim, right? We know that you studied many of your alternatives and you looked pretty diligently at what was the best platform for your technology and for your go-to-market. Can you describe a little bit about what that process is like and how you arrived at Oracle Cloud as a technology partner?
Sure. So we were on AWS, as a lot of people have been in their past lives too. And, as I mentioned, our philosophy is that we meet our customers where their data sits. We're agnostic to platform in that sense. So we wanted to make sure, of course, that we have customer needs met when they have AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, and Oracle Cloud was definitely one of the ones that we wanted to support. The more we started looking at Oracle Cloud and the service and the benefits and the cost savings that came along with it, we decided to move our platform, all of our research and development over to Oracle, for that reason. And of course, we do still support, customer tenants, other places, but when we were comparing what we had been doing with AWS versus what Oracle offered us, it was a very easy decision to go to Oracle Cloud.
Yeah, and what was I know there's been some articles where you've been referencing this, but could you let us know what was the real financial payoff to move to Oracle Cloud?
For us, it was 60%. And, going into it, talking to Oracle Cloud, that's what I was told it would be the case. And we're like, okay, that's way too good to be true. That's not going to happen. But sure enough, and, the biggest differentiator for our product is we need to stay highly available for our customers. And that means that there are communications between different availability zones to make sure that we are up and running at all times. AWS charged us for those communications back and forth. Oracle does not. And that is just a huge game changer for us. And so with the cost savings at 60%, we were able to increase our research and development and open up new tenants for R&D. And in fact, we just released our last major the end of July, and we did it ahead of schedule because of the work we were able to accomplish.
No, it's pretty awesome. And look, I'm a sales guy, so I had to tease that out of you. I had to get that stat out on the table because it's a pretty significant cost savings. And, it's not something that surprises us, right? We see it time and time again with customers that are in one cloud or certainly on premise, and then they go to the Oracle Cloud, they see just a very considerable cost savings, right? So I think the only thing that's difficult to perceive probably is that Oracle all of a sudden has fashioned ourselves as the low-cost provider, which is kind of interesting territory for us to operate in, but it's certainly the benefits and the advantages of having this Gen 2 architecture really enables a lot of that savings. So of that 60%, you mentioned kind of data movement, right? Which is a big part of your business, right? It's the data is flowing through the pipeline. And could you just expound a little bit more about data transfer costs? Because you mentioned that's a big part of the savings you realized, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, sure. So yes, data's coming in and we support real-time streams of data for our customers. And we're always looking to keep things accurate, up to date, and deliver that in real time. And so with data transfer, it's not only going from, customer through Navigo, our magic, matching and merging machine to create the golden record and back to the customer. But when we're talking high availability, we want to make sure that we have replications in multiple different places so things never go down. And so, it's whatever data set is moving, you think of, it's not moving just one instance of it, but you have several instances in different locations to keep copies such that you can always recover what you need to.
Of course. Yeah, that's great. Well, great. Look, so I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the marketplace, right? So I understand that the Oracle Cloud team has been working with your team to introduce Navigo to the Oracle marketplace. And you think about Oracle's stature in the market, we have hundreds of thousands of customers, extremely relevant technologies across the board, from applications to infrastructure and of course database. So can you tell us what the marketplace does for your business and what your plans are for exploiting that?
Yeah, and actually the marketplace partnership was a strong factor in our decision to move to Oracle Cloud in addition to the cost savings. We're a small, medium-sized business in that market segment, and I've been on the other end of it, as you mentioned, with Microsoft. And I know all too well that often the SMB market gets lost in the shuffle. And, you might get the website for support, and you don't actually have humans to talk to. And we were so incredibly impressed with Oracle Cloud as well as Oracle Marketplace in wanting to bring us into the fold, being very proactive with looking to work with us to develop new customer opportunities. And, let's get this profile right and make sure that, all of our messaging aligns together so we can be successful with the joint go-to-market. And I'll mention, Chris, and probably don't kill me for mentioning this, but we had kind of a fun time now that we're all working from home during this COVID time. We were working on our joint go-to-market strategy for a healthcare sector product. And so we had Navigo executives and Oracle executives, all of us sitting from home we would have been rolling up our sleeves, but we were all wearing our t-shirts. And it was really great. It was, this informal brainstorming, but it just goes to show the resources that Oracle is developing and dedicating toward the SMB market. I think in other companies, small companies like Navigo would not get that time and attention. So thank you, Chris. It's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to success on that new product we're putting out.
No, likewise. I mean, we look at it as a true partnership, right? I mean, we wear that burden proudly that we're part of your cost of goods sold, right? In order for you to deliver value to your customers, we understand our role in that now, providing the underlying infrastructure. So it's an extremely important relationship for us. It's one that we'll continue to invest in. And the marketplace is great. I mean, think about cloud in general, is customers are looking for easier ways to do business and to remove barriers from either making products work together or acquiring new technologies. The fact that you exist in the marketplace, for those customers that are already on Oracle Cloud, it should facilitate easier access to experiment and to try and do proof of concepts and test out some of these hypotheses of your technologies on top of Oracle Cloud. So it's really exciting, and I think it opens up a lot of doors for us.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of our customers we see have multiple different cloud environments going. It's not just you're choosing one. And so one of the ways that we can particularly help Oracle customers in the marketplace is moving data and integrating data from non-Oracle sources and get it into that warehouse and get it to the analytics so that you're seeing the complete picture and you can make a better decisions.
Yeah, definitely. No. So you mentioned healthcare, right? I know you guys have a big, strong industry focus, and I know, Katie, you were recently featured in a Forbes article just a couple of, like last month, I believe, about how Navigo is playing a key role in supporting healthcare companies during this pandemic. So can you tell us a little bit more about your work in the healthcare space and what your vision for Navigo is for healthcare?
So healthcare is an industry that has a lot of, I guess, merger and acquisition activity. Because when you think about it, hospital systems are often buying new hospitals or physician practice groups or outpatient facilities. And when they're acquiring these groups, often they have a different application to do the very same business function. So you have multiple EMRs, you might have multiple different billing systems, things like that. And so one way that we help in healthcare is to make sure that all of those data silos are integrated so that the data can be trusted and the hospital leadership can make decisions based on knowing what the complete set of data is for their entire system. The piece that in Forbes that was featured, it has to do with a customer of ours. It's a healthcare system in the Northeast. And they actually were one of the initial hospitals very heavily hit with COVID in the early days here in the United States. And the project that we had been working on that they brought Navigo in for to help them with was pre-COVID, but basically they were trying to figure out how do they know when patients follow through on treatment plans? That was the business question. And when they looked within their own systems, their own Cerner or or Epic or whatever EMR they were using, they could tell when their patients had appointments with them. But there's so much more to it for follow-up. And so they realized there was a need to bring data in from other sources, third parties like the National Provider Database, insurance, reimbursement, to see, hey, were people filling their prescriptions, or other healthcare facilities if they did outpatient like physical therapy, OT, that kind of thing. And so the idea was, let's bring all of these different data silos together, create the golden record so that then they can run analytics on it. And when you think about it now in terms of COVID, it became that much more important that you would have the ability to answer these questions in real time. And that's where our cloud native, wicked fast lightning technology and the fact that we're delivering data that's trusted and that quick order became very, very important so that they could better assess, quickly what treatments were working versus which ones aren't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any industry that's untouched by this need to have better data, right? I think you mentioned a few examples that I think resonate, right? It'd be really tough to be a healthcare provider these days and treat a patient and then be disconnected from how do they follow through in the treatment plan? Do you know that they took the medication? Did they do the physical therapy? And what burden does that put on the system if they have to be readmitted for the same thing, right? So you think about this endless loop of not having kind of clean decision-making data. I think it's incredibly important, not just to the cost to operate, but just the ability to serve patients better, community health. Like there's a lot of great benefits to solve this problem. So it's cool to see you guys kind of tackling this issue, this golden record issue. It's got to be really important for the healthcare industry.
Yes, I believe it definitely is. And, if they're saying treatment number 1 or treatment number 2, which works better? Well, if you don't know if people actually followed through on what they were supposed to do for the treatment, you cannot assess that.
Yeah, you're flying blind. No,
Mm.
I can see it. And look, the disruption with COVID, with just think about all the normal treatments that would happen. Then you have these, the ones that are COVID and urgent, and then the ones that have been delayed. It's like, how has that impacted people's health and insurance payment issues? It just seems like there's a huge data science problem mounting in the healthcare industry. So it's a good space, and it's a good, the public good needs it, right?
I think so. And, the other piece that this raises too is so many of the insurance or healthcare data sources were built to be on-prem.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at cloud and adoption of cloud technology, I know the poll results showed that a lot of the folks who are listening today are worried about that or interested in it. And, one of the first questions that I hear asked by my sales team is, well, how are you getting your on-premises data to your team now that everybody's working from their houses? And a lot of data management systems were built, on-prem for a workforce that was sitting right there down the hall from the data server room. And so that's a problem when your team is all over the place. Granted, we need tools like Zoom to communicate. And we have that, and we have, email tools. But when you're trying to have access to your data to make sure everybody has the facts, they have them in real time, and they can make their decisions, that's another step of dilemma that's, kind of been amplified here with the way that we're living in this post-COVID environment. And so that's another big way that I hope that Navigo is helping.
Well, no, it makes, I totally agree. And I think it triggers kind of where does security play into this, right? So I have to imagine, and it's obvious, I think that security is top of mind for customers in this industry, and probably all your customers, but particularly healthcare and privacy and all the regulatory issues surrounding that. And, at Oracle, we often deal with mission critical workloads, right? We're not kind of the casual workload company. We're tackling the hardest workloads that are most sensitive. So we've made security a critical design element of our cloud. It's not a feature, it's not an option. It's literally baked into the cake. And I'm wondering if you could tell the audience how Navigo differentiates your offering when it relates to security and thinking about regulatory compliance.
Yes, and we do also operate in highly regulated fields, oil and gas, financial services, insurance, healthcare. I think we've hit the big ones. And we take security very seriously. And I think in the early days, since Derek's invention here was almost ahead of its time, there was a lot of trying to convince people that the cloud was safe and secure. Now that it's better adopted, I do believe people understand more that actually this is probably safer than trying to keep your data in your office, for a variety of reasons. And the biggest ones being that Oracle, among other cloud providers, spends so much time developing the security expertise. So with Navigo, we do our own security on our data and on accesses to data, encryption, hashing, masking, all of those great things. But we also, since we're agnostic to where the data lives and where our customers are using in the different environments they're using, we haven't tied ourselves into any one vendor lock-in for our security. Sometimes you hear about people using the tool set from AWS and then they're kind of stuck having to do that. We didn't. And now by taking things kind of the longer way around and doing some of our own security, we also now can tie into Oracle or to other cloud securities for data at rest. And we always, of course, have data in motion encryption in place too. So we feel great. We have never, and I'll knock on wood here in my house, but we've never had any complaints. We've gone through some very rigorous security audits in huge multinational companies and governments. And I think that the tide is turning for the adoption of cloud in that sense.
Well, I think so. I think the cloud is ready. I think I'm obviously biased with our Gen 2 cloud and the fact that we have thought about architecting it with security from the ground up. It wasn't just like, oh, wait a second, it's also got to be secure. No, having a secure cloud was table stakes when we architected and invested in how we architected the cloud and built it. So I want to go back to a second to the ingestion part of the data pipeline, right? So in my experience dealing with customers on this topic, especially when we get engaged, as you would imagine, with a lot of modern data warehouse, and of course with the autonomous Oracle database, we're certainly involved in kind of helping customers solve the data pipeline issue as well, especially the analytics on the other end of the pipeline. So we see a lot of frustration with just ETL, right? How do you connect all these data sources? How do you do that ingestion? So where do you perceive Navigo's key differentiator in the ETL process to get not only the data connected, but ingested and organized properly?
I think, and one of the key use cases that we're seeing is a differentiator, and that's the emergence of the data lake. Everybody thought data lake, this is great. It's going to solve our data silo problem. We're going to take all the data sources and put them in one place. But the problem was the data's left disorganized. You can't really use it. And so I always think about it, since I live here on Lake Michigan, it's like taking a bucket of water, dumping it in Lake Michigan, and then go back and find your bucket of water. So what we're doing with our ELT, our ETL, is really making that data lake usable. And, for customers that are trying to use the lake as a warehouse, okay, that's going to make things usable. But importantly, it's bridging the gap between lake and warehouse, where from there you want to have your data analytics ready and go.
No, it's great. No, it's the right approach, right? Because it's solving the right problem on the front end. It's the critical dependency. So just want to take a minute and remind the audience that we will be taking some questions. We want to make this interactive. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A tool that's on the Zoom platform. And when we wrap up our Q&A here, we'll segue into some live questions from the audience. Before we go there, Katie, though, as in this world of cloud, right? You're a cloud provider, we're a cloud provider. We're kind of evolving our understanding of business models and thinking about relationships with customers, not so much on a transaction basis where, hey, you sell something, someone buys something, and it's kind of a commercial exchange. We're now thinking of things from the utility mindset, right? Where we enter into a relationship that is earned monthly, if not daily. And we understand that customers have many alternatives when it comes to cloud infrastructure. From that lens of kind of the utility service model, can you share how Oracle's service approach has fit into your culture and how it meshes with your team?
The flexibility and the willingness to dig in. And I think that, when you have a customer, you're not just looking at one particular problem. That might be the way you initially get in the door and you prove the value that you can bring to the customer and that return on investment quickly. But beyond that, there are a lot of different things. And one of the things that I enjoy doing is almost the solutions role of, what your technology can do, and you're trying to match it up to these different business problems, and connecting those dots is fun to do, and be able to show a customer, well, this is actually a way to solve this. It's going to save you money. It's going to save you time. And I enjoy working with Oracle because Oracle does the same thing. And so it's a lot of creative brainstorming sessions, and just really almost like being part of the same family.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned something earlier about kind of the way the SMB segment of the market can be perceived and how it gets resourced. I think that what you said struck me, and it really validated my approach because I'm the guy who runs the SMB business for Oracle. You would think you could get lost, but I would counter with our approach to this segment of the market is very purposeful. It's not accidental that we offer this white glove service mentality for our SMB customers. We have purposely resourced it to make sure that you see a differentiated coverage model from the Oracle SMB team to make sure that you don't get lost, right? You're making big decisions with the lifeblood of your company that matter, and that you need someone to be there. It's not just, hey, go to the website and good luck. It's if you need help, we have people. And Oracle, the great thing about doing business with Oracle is we got so many people that are willing to help, and we have a vast amount of resources and a very aggressive posture, right? So we're looking forward to the opportunities to serve customers together with you with that same mentality, because I think we have an amazing opportunity to link up together. So it's really exciting.
Well, and Chris, I wasn't saying those nice things about the SMB just to get brownie points with you. It's all very true. It's been a great partnership for sure.
Oh, great. I'm so glad to hear it. And So tell us more about what's next, right? For your business transformation, what do you see on the horizon in kind of the next frontier for Navigo?
Well, I mentioned data lakes, and being able to make the data usable in a data lake. That's a big use case for us. Having the automated data wrangling and data prep for business analysts so that it's analytics ready in real time and trusted. Those are kind of the two big use cases, and I see us expanding on those. We have our different industry verticals, and we take on opportunities in other verticals as they come to us as well. And just continuing to build up the brand recognition, the use cases, and I think pretty much analytics is going to be the big piece, because we know industry says that it used to be data scientists spend 80% of their time finding and prepping data. Now, poor data analysts, I think it's worse. Now they're saying it's 90% of their time. And we automate all of that. So just get straight to your smart work with your analytics and don't do the stuff that you don't want to when Navigo can do it for you and it's trusted. And that's also, I know, sometimes an issue for business analysts to have the executives they're taking their results to. And they're like, well, I don't know if we trust the data that this was, based upon. But if you have a strong governance in your data management and you're getting information up to date in real time, makes all the difference.
Well, I think we have great alignment, right, in vision with our companies, right? Because in the same way you're solving the data pipeline problem, the kind of the thought of ingesting and organizing messy data. We have that same perspective when it comes to running a data mart, a data lake, or a data warehouse. Is it should be touchless. You shouldn't have business analysts dependent and worried about when the data warehouse gets patched and how it's maintained, and all of the typical IT minutia that it takes to keep a complex data pipeline moving. We feel like that should be seamless, touchless. The real payoff is in the analytics in the end state, but both of these are critical dependencies. And I think we're each embarking on trying to simplify this data pipeline and make data, analytics ready, which I think is a really, really key message for people to take away.
Yeah, and along with Oracle, we completely agree that self-service is the way to go for that. And so our platform is a no-code platform built for non-technical users to be able to create golden records. We've done all the heavy lifting behind the scenes of figuring out how you combine databases of different forms and formats, and how to connect data sources. That's all behind the scenes, and all the user needs to do is point and click and drag and drop. And so I think that making it self-service, it allows the data stewards to participate, and it's not just on IT.
Absolutely. No, it makes a ton of sense. So look, we're getting some questions rolling in. What I'd like to do is go to a second poll question to keep this interactive. And then after we answer the poll, we'll circle back and take some questions. Okay, so this is a little biased. Sorry, I'm not sorry. But what are the reasons that you, as an audience member here, would explore Oracle's cloud infrastructure? Is it the need to modernize apps or the infrastructure? Is it to move out of your data center or a co-location? Is it to analyze all the data and have real-time reporting? Or is it just simply to spend less on maintaining database infrastructure and get more autonomous? Or is something else, right? Feel free to be honest. We'll take your feedback. Wow, okay. Interesting. So the results were to spend less on maintaining databases was the winner at 50% of the vote. So that's really interesting. There's a pretty good smattering for the rest of the answers, but again, not a surprise. I think people are just getting less tolerant of having to do mundane IT things to get business results. So it really makes a lot of sense to me. So great. Look, so Katie, I appreciate the dialogue with me. I think let's have some dialogue with some of the people in the audience now. And I'll go ahead and grab some of these questions as they come in. The first one I see, I love this one. This is great. How quickly can we evaluate your solution? Like how does it test or POC?
Yeah, so POC, connect to a data source. We connect in a matter of minutes. We create a golden record in a matter of a couple hours, depending on how large the data is. So you're going to see results immediately. Usually within a week, you will be ready to go after that.
Great. So look, whoever asked that question or whoever has that amount of interest, I would just encourage you, give it a try, right? Come to the Oracle Marketplace. We will remove all barriers to try and help you test this out. If you have this type of problem, which I'm sure many of you do, give us a shot. Let us try and show you what we can do. I think you'll get the best from both Oracle and Navigo. Great. Okay. Thank you for that. So the next question that I see is, Katie, can you share with us what have been the biggest lessons learned in your last 2 years of transforming your business? And would you do anything different? And if so, what?
I think, well, the biggest lesson learned is that our team is our most important asset. And I say that not just from a company culture standpoint, but really, I think with COVID-19 and people, making decisions to move to work from home and really care about their employees versus companies that haven't done things that are employee forward, there's a big difference and a big rift. And for a software company, gosh, it's the power of our minds and our ideas and our ability to collaborate. And so I think keeping in mind that the team is the most important asset and keeping that at the forefront of decisions you make for your company is extremely important. What I would have done differently perhaps is through this working from home, I personally had a lot of experience managing remote teams, but not everybody in my company was used to that. A lot of them were used to collaborating in person, and particularly on the dev team, it was so easy for them to turn around in their chairs to ask questions, for the junior developers to have their mentor right there. And now that everybody had to move home, we actually are more productive. And they learned that, hey, not only can we do this, but I think we can do this better, and our questions can be more targeted, and we can figure things out in a different way. And so I think I would have moved more people remote earlier.
I don't think you're alone. I think it's interesting. Nobody would have tried this on their own fruition, but now that we didn't have much of a choice, we're learning that, wow, maybe there is a better way. And you could argue we probably have over-rotated, and we'll kind of swing back. We're not going to swing back probably completely to how it was. But what's interesting, what I've noticed is that we had the same phenomenon where people are like, wow, amazing how much productivity we're getting. Like, people are available and they're really, working together collaboratively. And obviously tools like Zoom have helped a ton to just make it easy to do that. I mean, it's probably the next best thing to face-to-face and in person. But then I also struggle, like, okay, wait a second. I live down in Southern California. I'm in the Palisades, and I'm like, well, the beaches are closed. And the bars are closed. There's not much to do. So we have to think about, as we come out of this, how do we maintain the same level of productivity as things start to get to normal in our daily routines, right? So a lot of tough challenges ahead of us, but I couldn't agree more that I think some semblance of this is going to be with us, and we probably could have been smarter about it previously.
Yeah, and I also think about like the big Oracle events, Cloud Day, super fun. I attended as an attendee, and I was all set to be a speaker when everything had to close down. And instead we did Oracle Cloud Day virtual. And oh my gosh, I think it was great. And I know I heard tons of great feedback on my end from it. And so I think it does make us rethink trade shows and events like that. And also, as much as we've had our video conferencing technologies, who before COVID really turned their cameras on? We usually sitting in our offices, having our collaborative meetings. And I think that this, is better. Now we're using the video and we feel more connected in that sense. And I feel like I know the people I'm working with and all these partnerships a lot better.
Yeah, look, I agree. I have teams spread across the country, and for me to get face to face with them was kind of a big deal. I got to fly to Boston, or I got to fly to Austin, or you got to sit with people, and then it's hard to carve out all the personal time. But just jumping on a Zoom makes it a lot more interactive than I thought, and a lot more personal too. So, yeah. And look, I think it's interesting what you mentioned about the different events and the trade shows. I think it's a week from now or 2 weeks from now, we're supposed to be in Las Vegas for Oracle Open World. Now, part of me is disappointed because I really would have enjoyed going to Vegas for Open World, because that's fun in its own right, and it's really awesome to be with customers and have a good time with your employees. But I think now that you're doing these things virtually, you're going to get a feedback loop that you never would have got before, right? So your content has to be extremely relevant, and you're going to learn really quickly in a virtual session if you're hitting the right notes, right, based on interaction and attendance and whatnot. You might not have been able to glean that if you had a bunch of people in a big, auditorium or, a large gathering. So it's all, transformative what we're going through, and it's exciting. So Katie, thank you so much, right? We really appreciate your participation in this Spotlight series. These are really important to us to gain a better connection to our customers and the broader audience. So thank you for joining. And those in the audience that have participated, we thank you for joining. We've built a great community. So we'd like to stay connected with you. We'll keep you informed of more community-based thought leadership. This has been an amazing conversation, Katie. If any of you would like to follow up and learn more, please email us at customerspotlight_us@oracle.com. It's on the screen, and we can help you get connected to the right team. So before we wrap, there will be a one-question survey as you exit the Zoom. Please give us some quick feedback. Let us know how this went, and make sure to tune in for our next Customer Spotlight featuring Bosch Thermotechnology on September the 10th. And again, thank you, Katie, and thank you to the audience for participating. This has been great.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, audience, for listening today.